The New England Patriots have made multiple roster moves, and this will have some serious implications for the rest of the season for the Patriots. We tell you all about these moves and the implications going forward right here, right now on Patriots Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you hanging out with us and tuning in to today's show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for coverage of the New England Patriots throughout the entirety of the 2025 NFL season, the 9-2 New England Patriots, I should say. Obviously, we're looking towards some playoff football, and we want to have you around for that time, so go down there, and as I said, hit that subscribe button, 100% free. The Patriots have had some great off-season signings, but maybe none bigger than their interior defensive lineman, Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles. He has been downright fantastic throughout the early part of the season, now into the middle part of the season. However, we got some bad news on Thursday when he left the game due to an injury. Then yesterday it was believed that it was going to require several weeks of recovery for Milton Williams. And today we have the unfortunate official news from Ian Rappaport that the Patriots are placing standout defensive tackle Milton Williams on injured reserve because of that high ankle sprain that he suffered on Thursday night against the New York Jets. What was the first defensive drive of the game? Williams attempted to return on Thursday, though the team held him out. Williams should be back in 4 to 6 weeks. And now, this is obviously some very bad news. The defense has been, I'm not going to say the question mark of this team, but it's definitely been really held true by Milton Williams, and not having him on the defensive line does change the way we look at them. Now, with that to be said, this is still a very good Patriots squad, but losing Milton Williams is going to affect a bunch of things. His overall PFF grade being at 63.7 puts him about the upper above average, I would say 63.7 at the 46th out of 127 defensive interior linemen. But the 35 pressures is where he really shines. That's second amongst all 127 defensive interior linemen. I mean, he has just been fantastic, and that doesn't even include the Jets game that he just played in which I think he had like one pressure, even with him being injured so early on in the game. This sucks. It really does suck. Obviously, the Patriots kind of unlocked a new form against the Jets with using TreVeyon Henderson. The offense looked great. The defense, I'm not going to say they look great because the Jets really shouldn't have scored as many points as they did. But at the same time, Justin Fields is going to do what he's going to do. He's going to run, and he's fast. That is something that is going to be tough. So kind of to round out here, talk about the games he's going to miss. Oliver Thomas of Pat's Pulpit saying, quote, "The 6'3", 290-pound defensive lineman would now not be eligible for activation from injured reserve until Week 17 following matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, the New York Giants, the Buffalo Bills, and of course the Baltimore Ravens. Those two games in the last one, the back end, are the two that I'm more concerned about, the Bills and the Ravens. Hopefully we shouldn't need him against the Bengals or the New York Giants." Now, with all this to be said, him getting placed on IR, it opens up a roster spot, but it opens up one that you need to fill with a truly legitimate player in some aspects. Milton, in terms of sacks, had 3.5. That ranked him third on the team. Not too big of a tackler guy, 27 tackles. However, he had 24 sack yards, and he had 7 tackles for loss. That ranked him tied for second amongst all players in the Patriot system. And again, when you lose that presence on the defensive line that Milton Williams held, it does kind of create for some intriguing defensive setups and alignments that we're going to have to see from Mike Vrable and kind of his entire staff, looking at how exactly do you try and keep that pressure? Do you blitz Harold Landry more often? Do you try and figure out what the best way is to maybe make those edge rushers work in a better system? It's going to be an interesting game, I think, against the Bengals. Good news is you're facing a Cincinnati Bengal team that should still not have Joe Burrow. You're facing a New York Giants team that is going to have Jackson Dart and was going to be without their head coach, Brian Daboll, obviously after he got released, or I should say fired. So the next 2 games, you should have some time to kind of experiment a little bit, make sure the things work until you face a legitimate team again, and you have Buffalo come into town. You try and sweep them, which would be a very, very huge thing if you were able to sweep the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that pretty much locks you into a lot of ways of winning that division. This all to be said, the Patriots did make a roster move while putting him on injured reserve, as the Patriots are signing rookie outside linebacker Bradyn Swinson to the 53-man roster from the practice squad and placing defensive tackle Milton Williams on injured reserve. The 5th-round pick will finally get his shot, and Williams will be out a minimum of 4 weeks due to that high ankle sprain. Bradyn Swinson, a name that probably sounds familiar. It's because he was drafted this year in the 5th round at pick 146 and made headlines when in training camp he did not make the 53-man roster. And usually when you are rounds 5 and below, the expectation is for you to make the roster right away for a couple of reasons. One, you're very cheap. Second, you're under contract for the next 4 years. You want to try and develop them. And third, a lot of times they draft what their need was. And the Patriots did need outside linebackers. Now they got some great signings. And obviously Harold Landry has been fantastic. And Robert Spillane has been great. Jack Gibbons has really played to a high level as well. So I don't think there was as much as a need as you expected. But it was a surprise to see him not making the 53-man roster. He does now finally get his chance, and let's talk a little bit about him and kind of look at what the expectation is, because honestly, when you think about a guy who was, let's say, in theory, cut at the 53-man roster deadline and was not a guy who you expect to be cut, the expectation is that they don't trust him, right? And the expectation is like, okay, he's obviously not ready, he's obviously not built for this, and now we're just going to have to act on him. Well, I don't think that's actually the case. That's going to be confirmed here by outside linebackers coach Mike Smith when he says, quote, "He's really developing. And guys like that, younger guys, it takes time when they get in a rhythm and a routine of things and feel how the NFL is. It's different, obviously, in college. He's really starting to grow up and blossom into a good football player," end quote. And it's a fair point to make because Bradyn Swinson is pretty young for his age being in the NFL. And he didn't get he transferred from Oregon to LSU last year, was truly a full season for him, which he played fantastically. Like, here's our stats. Again, 59 total tackles on the year. In terms of sacks, he had a pretty good one there, getting a combined 8.5. He had 3, though, against South Carolina and 2 in UCLA. So 2 games, he had 5 sacks combined. He also had 2 forced fumbles in those games and really showed why he has, deserved to go to the NFL draft, deserved to get picked in the 5th round. Why did he not make the team? It's because he wasn't ready. It's because college and the NFL are different beasts. And I think people tend to kind of underestimate the transition in so many aspects. And so knowing now that we're going to be able to develop him, we're going to be able to use him, and he's going to be able to be in the active roster. And in my opinion, when Milton Williams does return, if Bradyn Swinson does the right things and can be the right things on that outside linebacker and kind of blitz, and I mentioned how losing Milton Williams is a big thing, but if you can kind of transform that edge rushing unit, maybe you could try and figure out a different way to get some interior pressure and maybe use some rotations with your edge rushers going around the inside, going kind of the U-turn, kind of going back inside the line to try and get pressure. Maybe that's the way that Bradyn Swinson works. They use him in that aspect, and he makes the squad, and when Milton Williams does return, it's not a need for the Patriots to immediately send Swinson back into the practice squad. Obviously, there is some expectations in some aspect that, Swinson, if he plays well, you can't really cut him, because if he does anything, he can be picked up by all the teams, and a 5th-round rookie is really good to pick up. Milton Williams, again, huge person for this Patriots guy, and I feel bad because he was having a really good season. 3.5 sacks through 11 games. He was totally on his way to matching last year and maybe outsourcing last year. Had 5 sacks, which is the most for him. Also had a forced fumble. He's really, really good. It's going to be a loss. Bradyn Swinson, obviously, the recipient of a very good chance. Hopefully he can go out here. He uses it in the proper way, gets and makes the field a better place, and maybe you can use that outside linebacker position / edge rushing unit to make some different ways of pressure. We'll see how it goes, though. That's what we got for you here today on Patriots Digest. Once again, if you made it to the end of the video and you are not subscribed, you obviously enjoy the content, so go down there, hit that subscribe button. But we appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you in tomorrow's show here on Patriots Digest. Peace out, guys.